Little girl, this is not a toy store. Do you know what you're touching?
I know better than anyone in this store. And I'm not a little girl.
They laughed when she walked into the gun store. 1 hour later, they stood frozen. The most dangerous people are often the ones who look the least threatening. The bell above Miller's gun shop chimed as Olivia Chen pushed through the glass door, her thrift store cardigan and worn sneakers, drawing immediate snickers from the customers browsing tactical gear. "Lost lady," called out a clerk, his tone dripping with condescension as he eyed her discount clothing and gentle demeanor. Olivia, 34, moved through the testosterone-heavy store with quiet confidence, her soft voice and unassuming appearance masking something far more dangerous. She surveyed the displays with the calm assessment of someone who understood weapons not as symbols of power, but as tools of precision requiring respect, skill, and deadly accuracy. What these men didn't know was that they were about to meet one of the most lethal operatives ever trained by the U.S. government. In the next hour, their mockery would turn to stunned silence as Olivia revealed capabilities that would shatter every assumption they'd made about who could be dangerous. Miller's gun shop occupied a corner building in downtown Phoenix, Arizona, its walls lined with hunting rifles, tactical shotguns, and handguns that reflected the Arizona gun culture of 2023. The store attracted a specific clientele: cowboys, military contractors, hunters, and weekend warriors who equated firepower with masculinity. Mounted deer heads stared down from the walls, while the air hung thick with gun oil and testosterone-driven conversation about latest modifications and hunting conquests. The atmosphere was deliberately intimidating to outsiders, a boys' club where knowledge was measured in calibers discussed and stories of successful hunts shared. Women rarely entered except to purchase gifts for husbands or fathers, and they were typically guided towards smaller, more appropriate firearms, with patronizing explanations about recoil management and safety features. Olivia's transformation began at 18 when she was recruited from MIT's engineering program by a classified government initiative. The program, known only as Project Nightshade, trained a select group of individuals in advanced marksmanship, tactical planning, and covert operations. For 12 years, she had served as a ghost operative, eliminating high-value targets in locations that didn't officially exist on any map. Her specialty was long-range precision shooting, and her record was flawless: 43 confirmed eliminations without a single missed shot. After retiring from active service, Olivia had deliberately chosen anonymity, working as a librarian in Phoenix, while maintaining her skills through regular practice at remote desert locations. She lived alone in a modest apartment, her only companions being the nightmares that visited her sleep and the constant vigilance that never fully turned off. Her appearance, soft cardigans, reading glasses, and a quiet demeanor was carefully cultivated to blend into civilian life and avoid the attention that had once made her the most feared sniper in 3 continents. What made Olivia extraordinary wasn't just her marksmanship, it was her ability to calculate wind speed, bullet drop, and target movement in milliseconds, while maintaining emotional detachment that bordered on supernatural. She could read people's intentions through micro-expressions, assess tactical situations instantly, and remain calm under pressure that would shatter most trained soldiers. Her knowledge of weapons was encyclopedic, extending to models and modifications that most gun enthusiasts had never heard of. More importantly, she understood that true lethality came not from the weapon, but from the mind behind it. The conflict began the moment Olivia entered the store, not because she sought confrontation, but because she needed specialized equipment for a consultation job that would require her unique skills. The men in the store saw her as an easy target for their condescension, a woman who had wandered into their domain without understanding the rules of engagement. But Olivia's challenge was more complex. She needed to acquire military-grade equipment without revealing her true identity or capabilities. The stakes were personal as well as professional. Every snicker and dismissive comment reminded her of the double life she'd been forced to live, the constant need to hide her true self behind a facade of normalcy. More immediately, her current assignment required specific equipment that only a shop like Miller's could provide, and failure to acquire it would compromise a mission that could save lives. But what happened next would transform the atmosphere from mockery to stunned silence. The moment that changed everything came when Olivia approached the counter and spoke in her soft, measured voice. "I need to examine your CheyTac M200 intervention rifle, specifically one chambered in .408 CheyTac with a 29-inch barrel and adjustable stock configuration." The store fell silent. The CheyTac M200 was one of the most advanced sniper rifles in the world, a weapon that few civilians had even heard of, let alone understood the technical specifications. Miller, the store owner, looked up from his paperwork with the expression of someone who had just heard his grandmother discuss quantum physics. "Lady," Miller said slowly, "I'm not sure you understand what you're asking for. The CheyTac is a military-grade precision rifle that costs more than most people's cars. It's designed for extreme long-range shooting. We're talking 500 yards and beyond." Olivia's internal struggle was invisible to the watching crowd. She had spent 5 years building a quiet life, avoiding situations that might expose her true capabilities. But the mission she'd been pulled back into required the CheyTac's unique capabilities, and her handler had insisted that a civilian purchase would draw less attention than military procurement channels. "I understand exactly what I'm asking for," she replied calmly. "I need to evaluate its accuracy potential with match-grade ammunition." Miller's skepticism was evident as he studied Olivia's appearance, clearly trying to reconcile her soft-spoken demeanor with her technical knowledge. "This isn't a hunting rifle, lady. This is a precision instrument for professional marksmen. The scope alone costs $8,000. The Nightforce NXS 8 to 32x 56mm scope," Olivia replied without hesitation. "I'm familiar with it. I'll also need to examine your selection of match-grade 408 CheyTac ammunition, preferably loaded with 419-grain solid copper bullets." The crowd of customers had grown larger, drawn by the unusual spectacle of a woman in a cardigan discussing military sniper rifles with technical precision that exceeded most of their own knowledge. Their initial amusement was giving way to confusion and grudging interest. Olivia's strategy was carefully calculated. She needed to demonstrate enough knowledge to access the equipment while maintaining her civilian cover. Her years of tactical training had taught her to read rooms and manipulate situations to her advantage, but this required a delicate balance between revelation and concealment. Miller disappeared into his back room, returning with a rifle case that he handled with the reverence reserved for sacred objects. The CheyTac M200 was a work of art, black tactical stock precision machined barrel and a scope that cost more than most people's monthly salary. "This is a serious weapon," Miller said, his tone shifting from condescension to cautious respect. "It requires serious training to use effectively." Olivia's first step was to examine the rifle with the methodical precision of someone who understood that a weapon's lethality existed in its details. She checked the barrel crown, tested the trigger pull, and assessed the scope mounting system with movements that were both gentle and professional. The trigger pull is set at approximately 2.5 pounds. She observed her voice carrying the quiet confidence of technical expertise. The barrel appears to be properly free-floated and the scope base is mounted correctly. The crowd's reaction was immediate and telling. The snickers had stopped, replaced by an uncomfortable silence, as the men realized that Olivia wasn't just randomly repeating technical terms, she was conducting a professional weapons evaluation that exceeded their own knowledge. Miller watched her with growing unease. "How do you know all this?" "I read a lot," Olivia replied, her tone maintaining the gentle quality that had initially invited their mockery. But now that same soft-spoken demeanor carried an undertone that suggested depths they hadn't anticipated. The first test would come when she requested to verify the rifle's accuracy, a demonstration that would require her to reveal capabilities that would forever change how these men viewed both her and their own assumptions about who could be dangerous. But what happened next would shatter every assumption they'd made about capability and danger. The first real test came when Olivia requested access to the store's indoor range to verify the rifle's accuracy. Miller's hesitation was obvious. He clearly doubted her ability to handle the weapon safely, let alone shoot it effectively. "Ma'am, this rifle has significant recoil," he explained patronizingly. "Maybe we should start with something more manageable." The suggestion drew chuckles from the crowd, but Olivia's response was to calmly inspect the rifle's bipod system and muzzle brake with the familiarity of someone who had done this thousands of times before. The second challenge escalated when Olivia requested to test the rifle at the maximum range available in the store's basement facility 50 yards, which most customers considered adequate for basic accuracy testing. But Olivia's request for specific ammunition loads and her detailed questions about environmental conditions began to reveal a level of technical knowledge that made the observers uncomfortable. Her quiet competence was beginning to eclipse their bravado, and their mockery was shifting toward nervous uncertainty, as they realized they might be witnessing something beyond their experience. The third and most challenging phase came when Olivia requested to demonstrate the rifle's capabilities at what she called precision parameters, a phrase that made Miller's eyes narrow with suspicion. Her casual mention of factors like Coriolis effect, air density variations, and bullet trajectory calculations silenced the crowd completely. These weren't terms that weekend warriors or hunting enthusiasts typically understood, let alone discussed with the casual fluency that Olivia displayed. The atmosphere in the store had shifted from amusement to something approaching reverence or fear. As word of the unusual demonstration spread through the store, more customers gathered to witness what had become an impromptu exhibition of marksmanship knowledge. The crowd included off-duty police officers, military veterans, and experienced hunters who prided themselves on their weapons expertise. Their initial amusement had given way to professional interest as they realized They were witnessing something extraordinary. "I've never seen a woman handle a precision rifle like that," whispered a retired Army sergeant to his companion. "She's treating it like she's done this before a lot." The pressure intensified when someone in the crowd suggested that Olivia's knowledge might be theoretical rather than practical. "Anyone can read about rifles," called out a voice from the back. "Let's see if she can actually shoot the thing." The challenge hung in the air like a dare, and Olivia found herself at the center of a situation that threatened to expose capabilities she had spent years concealing. Her handler's voice echoed in her memory, "Maintain your cover at all costs." But the mission required this equipment, and backing down now would mean failure. Under the mounting pressure, Olivia experienced a transformation that surprised even her. The years of hiding her true self had created an internal conflict between the deadly operative she had been and the quiet librarian she was pretending to be. But as she held the CheyTac M200, feeling its familiar weight and precision engineering, she realized that denying her capabilities was itself a form of dishonesty. "I'll demonstrate the rifle's accuracy," she said quietly, her voice carrying a new authority that made the crowd step back unconsciously. "But I need to explain something first. This weapon isn't designed for recreational shooting. It's a precision instrument created for specific applications that require extreme accuracy under combat conditions." The change in her demeanor was subtle but unmistakable. The soft-spoken librarian was still there, but now there was something else, a quiet competence that suggested she understood things that the crowd couldn't even imagine. Her knowledge wasn't academic. It was experiential, earned through circumstances that none of them had faced. Miller found himself looking at Olivia with new eyes, recognizing that he was dealing with someone whose background was far more complex than her appearance suggested. The tension reached a breaking point when Olivia's phone buzzed with a message that made her face go pale. The text was brief but urgent. "Extraction compromised. Need immediate relocation to secondary position. Time sensitive." The crowd noticed her sudden change in demeanor, but they couldn't interpret the significance. Olivia's mind raced through tactical calculations. She needed the CheyTac for the mission, but the compromised extraction meant that her cover was potentially blown. Staying in the store much longer would put innocent civilians at risk. "Is there a problem?" Miller asked, noting her tension. "I need to complete this transaction quickly." Olivia replied, her voice taking on an urgency that made the crowd exchange glances. "The accuracy demonstration will have to be abbreviated." But even as she spoke, she noticed movement outside the store windows, dark vehicles that had appeared too suddenly to be coincidental. The situation was escalating beyond her control, and she realized that her careful balance between revelation and concealment was about to collapse entirely. And then everything changed when the real danger arrived. The crisis erupted when 3 black SUVs pulled up outside Miller's gun shop, their occupants moving with the coordinated precision of a tactical team. Through the store windows, Olivia could see armed figures taking positions around the building, their movements efficient and professional in a way that made her blood run cold. "Everyone get down!" Olivia commanded, her voice carrying absolute authority that made the entire store drop to the floor without question. The soft-spoken librarian had vanished, replaced by someone who moved with lethal purpose. Miller crawled toward his security system, But Olivia stopped him with a gesture. That won't help. These aren't regular criminals. She was already conducting a tactical assessment: exit routes, defensive positions, civilian protection protocols. The CHATAC M200 was still in her hands, but it was loaded with practice ammunition that would be useless against tactical armor. "Who are they?" Miller whispered, his earlier condescension replaced by genuine fear. "People who followed me here," Olivia replied, her calm tone more terrifying than panic would have been. "I need you to understand something. Everyone's life depends on following my instructions exactly." The realization hit the crowd like a physical blow. The quiet woman they had been mocking was someone whose presence had brought danger to their doorstep. Their assumptions about her harmlessness had been catastrophically wrong. As the tactical team positioned themselves around the store, Olivia faced an impossible choice. She could surrender herself to protect the innocent civilians, knowing that her capture would compromise the mission that could save hundreds of lives. Or she could fight, using the gathered crowd as cover while trying to escape with the equipment she needed. "Lady, what did you do?" One of the customers demanded, his voice tight with fear. "I tried to live a normal life," Olivia replied, her eyes never leaving the windows as she tracked the movements outside. "But some people don't want to let the past stay buried." The tactical team's leader appeared at the front door, his face hidden behind tactical gear, but his intentions clear. "Olivia Chen," he called out, his voice amplified by electronic equipment. "You know why we're here. Come out and no one else gets hurt." The decision crystallized in Olivia's mind with the clarity that had once made her legendary. She had spent 5 years pretending to be someone she wasn't, hiding her capabilities behind a facade of normalcy. But normalcy was a luxury she could no longer afford when innocent lives hung in the balance. "Listen carefully," she told the crowd, her voice carrying the authority of someone who had commanded life and death operations. "I'm going to get us out of this, but I need you to do exactly what I say when I say it." The transformation was complete. The librarian mask had fallen away, revealing someone whose capabilities were about to be demonstrated in the most dramatic way possible. The moment of truth came when Olivia made a decision that would expose her true identity while potentially saving everyone in the store. She moved to the ammunition display with movements that were both fluid and precise, selecting specific rounds that would be effective against the tactical team's equipment. "Miller," she called out, her voice carrying absolute command authority, "I need your highest velocity 308 rounds, armor piercing if you have them." "What are you planning?" Miller asked, his voice reflecting a mixture of fear and growing respect. "I'm planning to demonstrate why they call me Ghost," Olivia replied, chambering a round in the CHATAC with movements that were both professional and deadly. "Everyone stay down, stay quiet, and stay alive." The crowd watched in stunned silence as the woman they had dismissed as a harmless librarian transformed into someone who moved with the lethal precision of a trained killer. Her knowledge of weapons wasn't theoretical. It was practical, earned through experience that none of them could imagine. As she prepared to engage the tactical team, Olivia felt the familiar calm that had once made her the most feared sniper in the world. The masquerade was over, and it was time to remind everyone why she had earned her reputation. What happened next would demonstrate why legends are born from capability, not appearance. As the tactical team prepared to breach the store, Olivia transformed the gun shop into a defensive position with the strategic thinking of someone who had survived countless life-threatening situations. She directed the civilians to positions that would provide maximum protection while giving her clear fields of fire. The display case over there, she pointed to a reinforced counter. Everyone behind it stay low and don't move unless I tell you. Her voice carried the calm authority of someone who had commanded troops in combat zones. Miller watched in amazement as Olivia checked the CHATAC's scope settings with movements that were both economical and professional. "Who are you?" he whispered. "Someone who's been pretending to be someone else for too long." Olivia replied, her voice carrying a weariness that spoke of years of hiding her true self. But pretending time is over. She had transformed the weapon into a precision instrument capable of engaging targets at ranges that exceeded the tactical team's expectations. Her knowledge of ballistics, wind compensation, and target acquisition was about to be demonstrated in the most dramatic way possible. The final confrontation began when the tactical team leader made a crucial mistake. He assumed that Olivia was trapped and desperate rather than precisely where she wanted to be. The store's layout provided her with advantages that her training had taught her to exploit. "1 minute," the leader called out. "Then we're coming in." Olivia's response was to position herself at the store's rear window where she had a clear view of the street and the tactical team's positions. The CHATAC M200 felt natural in her hands, its weight and balance as familiar as her own heartbeat. "When I engage," she told the crowd, "there will be noise, movement, and confusion. Stay down, stay quiet, and let me work." The crowd had gone beyond fear into a kind of stunned reverence. They were witnessing something that would become legend, the moment when a seemingly harmless woman revealed herself to be one of the most dangerous people they would ever encounter. The clock was ticking, and Olivia's reputation was about to be demonstrated in ways that would haunt their memories forever. The engagement began with a precision shot that redefined everyone's understanding of marksmanship. Through the store's rear window, Olivia had identified the tactical team's sniper, positioned on a rooftop 400 yards away, a shot that most marksmen would consider extremely challenging under optimal conditions. The CHATAC M200 spoke once, its report echoing through the store like thunder. 400 yards away, the enemy sniper's rifle clattered to the rooftop as he dove for cover, his scope destroyed by a bullet that had passed through the center of his optics. "Threatening scope destruction at 400 yards," Miller whispered to himself, his voice filled with awe. "That's not luck, that's skill." The crowd watched in stunned silence as Olivia chambered another round with movements that were both fluid and precise. She had just demonstrated marksmanship that exceeded military standards, but her expression remained calm and focused. The tactical team's response was immediate and professional. They adapted quickly to the realization that they were facing someone with capabilities that exceeded their expectations. Their formation shifted, using cover more effectively while trying to identify Olivia's position. "They're good," Olivia observed, her voice carrying professional respect for their tactical skills. "But they're not prepared for precision engagement from an elevated position." The store's layout provided her with a tactical advantage that her training had taught her to exploit. From her position, she could engage targets while remaining protected from return fire, but the team was adapting, and she knew that her window of opportunity was closing. A smoke grenade exploded outside the store, creating a screen that would allow the team to approach under cover. Olivia's response was to shift positions with movements that were both economical and professional, maintaining her advantage while preparing for the next phase of the engagement. "They're trying to obscure my vision," she explained to the crowd, "but smoke works both ways. They can't see me either." The decisive moment came when Olivia realized that the tactical team's true objective wasn't to capture her. It was to eliminate her and anyone who had witnessed her capabilities. The mission she had been pulled back into was more complex than she had been told, and her handler's motives were becoming suspect. "Listen to me carefully," she told the crowd, her voice carrying absolute authority. "These people aren't here to arrest me. They're here to ensure that what you've seen today never gets reported." The implication was clear. Everyone in the store was in mortal danger, not because they had done anything wrong, but because they had witnessed capabilities that certain people wanted to keep secret. Miller's face went pale as he understood the situation. "You're saying they'll kill us all. I'm saying they'll try," Olivia replied, her voice carrying the quiet confidence of someone who had faced similar situations and survived. "But that's not going to happen." She made a decision that would either save everyone in the store or get them all killed. Instead of continuing the defensive engagement, she was going to take the fight to the enemy, using tactics that would expose her full capabilities for the first time in 5 years. The transformation was complete. The librarian was gone, replaced by someone whose reputation had been earned through actions that defied conventional understanding of what was possible. The breakthrough came when Olivia executed a tactical maneuver that demonstrated why she had earned her legendary status. Using the store's rear exit, she flanked the tactical team's position while maintaining cover, approaching from an angle they hadn't anticipated. The engagement that followed was brief, but devastating. Moving with the fluid precision of someone who had survived countless similar situations, she disabled the team's equipment and neutralized their threat capability without causing unnecessary casualties. "Clear," she announced, her voice carrying across the store with the authority of someone who had just demonstrated why legends are born from capability rather than appearance. The crowd emerged from cover to find that the tactical team had been neutralized with a precision that bordered on supernatural. Their equipment was destroyed, their vehicles disabled, and their personnel restrained in ways that suggested professional training beyond military standards. "How did you do that?" Miller asked, his voice reflecting a mixture of awe and fear. "Training," Olivia replied simply, "and a lot of practice." The immediate aftermath was surreal. Emergency responders arrived to find a situation that defied conventional explanation. The tactical team's equipment was destroyed with surgical precision, their personnel were restrained but unharmed, and the store's customers were uninjured, but forever changed by what they had witnessed. Olivia had returned to her quiet demeanor, but the illusion of harmlessness was permanently shattered. Everyone in the store now understood that they had been in the presence of someone whose capabilities exceeded their imaginations. But the real revelation was yet to come. The immediate aftermath of the incident transformed Miller's gun shop into the most famous firearms store in Phoenix. Word of the librarian who fought off a tactical team spread through social media and law enforcement channels, creating a legend that would persist for years. The store became a pilgrimage site for firearms enthusiasts who wanted to see where the impossible had happened. Miller himself was forever changed by the experience. His condescending attitude toward female customers disappeared, replaced by a respectful recognition that appearances could be devastatingly deceiving. He instituted new training for his staff, emphasizing respect for all customers regardless of their appearance or perceived experience level. The incident also sparked an investigation into the tactical team's origins and motivations, revealing a complex web of government agencies and private contractors who had been operating outside legal oversight. Olivia's exposure had inadvertently uncovered a conspiracy that reached the highest levels of government. The long-term impact of Olivia's revelation extended far beyond Phoenix. Her story became a case study in military academies and law enforcement training programs, illustrating the importance of avoiding assumptions based on appearance or demeanor. The incident sparked a broader conversation about the treatment of women in traditionally male-dominated environments. Gun stores across the country began implementing new policies designed to ensure that all customers were treated with respect and professionalism. The Miller's Gun Shop incident became shorthand for the dangers of underestimating people based on stereotypes and assumptions. More importantly, Olivia's story inspired a generation of women who had been dismissed or underestimated because of their appearance. Her demonstration that lethality could come in unexpected packages became a symbol of empowerment for those who had been judged by their appearance rather than their capabilities. The incident also led to increased scrutiny of classified government programs and the treatment of former operatives who had served in sensitive positions. Olivia's case became a catalyst for improved support systems for veterans transitioning to civilian life. Olivia's personal transformation was perhaps the most significant outcome of the incident. After 5 years of hiding her true self, she had been forced to confront the reality that she could never fully escape her past. But rather than continuing to hide, she chose to embrace her identity while finding ways to use her skills constructively. She established a training program for women interested in firearms proficiency, teaching not just marksmanship, but also the mental discipline required for responsible gun ownership. Her approach emphasized respect for weapons and the importance of using skills only when absolutely necessary. The story of Olivia Chen became a reminder that the most dangerous people are often those who look the least threatening. Her journey from mockery to respect illustrated the importance of treating everyone with dignity and the dangers of making assumptions based on appearances, gender, or perceived weakness. The most dangerous people are often the ones who look the least threatening, and the wisest people are those who remember that lesson.